Good morning, everyone. Justin Madison here. March 29th, 2025. I told you guys in a video before not to trust Zelensky. I told you not to do it. So, we will not allow it. Zelensky rejects new mineral draft that would recognize U.S. support as loans. Tyler Durden, Zero Hedge. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky said during a Friday press conference that he won't recognize past U.S. military aid as loans after Washington sent a new draft of the mineral deal to Kiev. Ukraine received a new agreement project from the U.S. regarding mineral resources, which is an entirely different document from the previous framework agreement, said Zelensky, adding Ukraine will not recognize U.S. military aid as debt. We are grateful for this support, but this is not a credit, and we will not allow it, Zelensky continued. The Ukrainian president also said they are unwilling to negotiate with President Vladimir Putin or with someone who would represent Russia. And instead, I think if there are people, I think there are businesses in Russia, and they may have different regions, including serious business areas. I think that would communicate with them if they have a vision of how to end the war. This guy. Oh, man. Zelensky, in very short terms, is a weasel. Like this guy. Look, I wish Ukraine had a better guy on their side. I really do. I wish that they had somebody. Man. Anyway, back in an older video, we talked about, how they're doing peace talks, etc. This guy's trying to throw a bunking wrench in this whole ordeal. You got to understand, look, if you have an understanding of how the world works, if you understand how people are, and this is very important, if you understand what countries and their leaders really want, not what they say they want, because of who they are, you will understand what they will do and what the country will do. Look, none of us should fall for any propagandas. Our own propaganda, other people's propaganda. This thing is gonna escalate more because it's like a 5-year-old flopping on the floor in the grocery store when you have to go check out. Like, this is over. Let's go. You're not getting the toy. Come on. It's time to go. Don't make me spank you. This whole thing with Russia, Europe, and Ukraine and all this stuff, look, this is a complicated 1,000-year-old situation where there's people who want things and other people who want other things. And if you look, right, Ukraine used to be a part of Russia, very central to Europe, right there at the mouth of the Black Sea and into the Mediterranean and all that. It's like another video we talked about. This is a trade route spot. This is where ships pass through. It's a key location. Not to mention the oil and gas pipelines that run through Ukraine. They go from the Middle East into Europe, and they go from Russia into Europe. This is a very important spot that a lot of people want. Not just Russia, not just Ukraine. A lot of people would be very happy to own that land there. And it's not about, all this, romanticized stuff. People have been positioning to get a hold of these parts of the world forever. I mean, okay, why would all right, quick history lesson. World War II. Why did Germany expand? Okay, they were evil, they did bad things, they, all this stuff, right? But there's a pragmatic reason why they expanded, okay? Because you can't get millions and millions of people to come together and do evil stuff like that if you can't rationalize it, right? They had a major land problem. They were overpopulated for their country size. you know how I know this is true? There were talks in Europe back in like the 19 teens and 20s talking about we need to put a dam up around the Mediterranean and make the Mediterranean smaller. That way we can have more land around the coast for countries to be able to spread out. The guy who specifically came up with the idea of this cited Germany is overpopulated and they need more space for colonization so they don't start a war, right? There's rational reasons why wars happen as a basis to have them, right? Here's the thing, right? It's hard. You can only get so many people to fight out of sympathy to help someone for so long. But after a while, there's going to be this thing where Europe has a real problem with a lack of energy. They don't have enough. They can't produce enough of their own energy. They need it, right? And that's why this has been like a pretty half-hearted war anyway. Like, it's been a proxy war. Europe really needs the resources of energy that Russia has an extreme abundance of. And they don't want Russia to have more control over Europe to be able to force their will on the world more. Russia, they need a sea port. They need a warm water port. The only warm water port they have is through the Black Sea. If you haven't noticed, the majority of Russia's border is in the Arctic. Half the year, they can't send ships through it. If they lose the dominance of that area, or at least kind of have a neutral area, which is Ukraine, and Europe comes in and takes control of that area, Ukraine, Russia won't be able to get ships through, and they won't be able to sell any of their stuff, and they will die economically. This is a real problem. So look, Zelensky has people who really are behind closed doors threatening him to not let this thing end, right? Don't worry about it. Don't worry if the USA backs out. We've got you. We'll make sure you're all right. And they're talking right now. Excuse me. I'm not sending, French and British troops there in person. Once they do that, Russia attacks them because they'll be mixed in with the Ukrainians. They're going to then say Russia attacked NATO. And then it's Article 5 and then, major war. The U.S. doesn't want to be a part of it. We have too many of our own problems right now. This is going to be weird. So, give me your thoughts on all this stuff. Don't trust Zelensky, as I said in previous videos. I wish they had a better leader. I wish Ukraine could be, a free country. I would love for them to be a good people and just mind their own businesses, which, hey, a lot of people say that they have been, right? And they could, not have people invading them, right? But you have to realize who's pushing Ukraine. There's been a lot that's happened to that country that you probably don't know about, with a lot of foreign actors who've been manipulating them and trying to get them to do things. So anyway, that's the end of this video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that, and tell me what you think. I know a lot of you are going to get very angry at me, and you're going to call me someone who's pro-Russia. That is not what I am. I am a rational guy who looks at all sides. Remember, whenever, okay, every single one of your countries, the US, Europe, all these people, you've all been to war. All of your countries have been to war. And the other side has always said you're bad people. It doesn't matter, right? Don't get so one-sided or black and white on these things. All right. That's it for today. Thank you.